Vaibhav Shetty experience. However, this week we are debuting a new series. Today we are going to have the very first episode of the Inside Scoop, a series where we talk to the experts in our field, whether it's the officials, the promoters, people behind the scenes who see what the everyday fan or even the athletes typically do not see. And I cannot think of a better person to start the show than my guest right now, Mr. Kevin Alfred David. Welcome to the show, Mr. Kevin.
Thank you, Vaibhav, and good evening, everybody, and good morning to the rest of the world.
So, how are you? Is it like a quiet Friday evening today for you? I hope I didn't interrupt anything major that was planned.
No, not exactly, but we were a little tied up. We're having the Youth World Championships coming up, so we're tied up in a little bit of administration work and getting things done for the athletes.
Right. For those who don't know, and I'll be surprised for, in case there are people who don't know this, but Mr. Kevin Alfred David, he has been a referee at major IMF events over the years, whether it's the World Championships, the Asian Open, the Youth World Championships. He's always been there both as part of the Indian contingent as well as as a main referee. Not just that, he has been the third man in the cage and the ring for matches which are MMA, for boxing matches with the Indian Boxing Council, for Muay Thai matches where he has been the third man for WBC Muay Thai India titles, as well as the World Kickboxing Network titles. And when I was competing in Jiu-Jitsu, I remember seeing Mr. Kevin Alfred David at the judges table there as well. So it's an incredible array of combat sports that he is an expert in. Uh, and I'm sure it's taken many years to gain that expertise. So, could you tell me a little bit about or the audience a little bit about your background? We don't need exact dates, exact details, but when did you start and how did you get into these multiple sports as an official?
When I was young, I started off first with boxing for 3 years when I was from my sixth to eighth standard.
Oh,
And
wow.
then once I moved from a different state and come to Karnataka,
Hmm.
picked up karate, and that was my base, where in which I got my black belt, and then I started refereeing and judging as well as a participant in various tournaments at different levels.
Hmm.
And after that, when I came to Bangalore, I was introduced to Muay Thai,
Okay.
and I learned and I got certified in Muay Thai also, and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu too. I took part in a competition, the Subcontinental Championships, where I got a bronze medal in my category in the
Oh,
heavyweights.
wow. Okay.
And following which, after that, I started refereeing and judging also for BJJ at the Asian level also.
Hmm.
And following that, I got into MMA in 2015,
Okay.
and then was certified and graded by the most famous referee Mark Gowder in 2017. A couple of us were graduated from his course from
Hmm.
India, and this is a
Okay.
senior batch. And after that, I started refereeing and judging first. In fact, I started judging in MMA at the Asian level, and then when I went for my first Worlds, I judged and I did refereeing too there.
Okay.
And also, I got into boxing currently, and now I am the South Commissioner for Indian Boxing Council, where we have WBC title fights also, and we are certified Asian judges for WBC in refereeing and judging for boxing too. So this
Well,
is my part in combat sports and my passion towards it, and that's about it.
wow. So you literally started from the grassroots level, right? When you were in sixth standard, before anybody in
Yeah,
India, or very few people in India knew anything about combat sports. So you've
yeah.
been through it all. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason being is I come from a pretty family background where everybody is into combat sports. My uncles all were boxers,
Wow.
so boxing was a part and parcel of a daily life. I'm an Anglo Indian, so most of the
Okay.
Anglo Indians are into boxing. So,
Oh, nice.
like when people get into cricket and football, most of us get into boxing. And earlier in Bangalore, in St. Germans and Josephs and all
Hmm.
that, boxing used to be one of the sports for the
Oh, wow.
students. That
Okay.
initially, now they've stopped that,
Uh-huh.
but initially it was there in my dad's
Wow.
days, and then when we started, so that niche of having combat thing, you can say it was in the blood.
Oh,
So
nice. So I'm sure you've seen a big difference in the way people used to, play the sport, or we can't call it play because it's combat sports, but
yeah.
the way they used to compete back in the day and the way they compete now, is there a big difference, or has it not really changed much, at least from the boxing point of view?
See, there's a lot of difference from the amateur circuit and the professional circuit, especially when coming to boxing.
Right,
The boxers they cannot do any showboating in the ring, and they have to follow to the T the rules. They're pretty strict. The referees are no nonsense is allowed in the ring. The
right,
same thing in professional boxing. There is no nonsense allowed in the ring, but the boxers are allowed to showboat themselves. And
right,
get the crowd to gather the crowd in and make the match more exciting. So I
mm,
don't see much of the difference, but the difference here is technique wise. People have improved a lot
mhm,
when it comes to the technique aspects of it, the stamina aspects of it. And in Indian boxing, we're seeing a lot of improvement in the professional boxing circuit, where we have a lot of matches happening all over India.
right,
And there are some promoters who take Indian fighters abroad also.
mhm,
So that is also over there. That's a boost for the Indian Boxing Council, and the same thing goes for MMA too. Like in
mhm,
the amateur circuit, you see that MMA India,
mhm,
we are the only legal and authorized federation for amateur body which is affiliated to the International Mixed Martial Art Federation (IMF), and where we groom athletes in the amateur circuit. And Vaibhav, you also were a part of it in the amateur
right,
circuit, and then you went pro. So
right,
we groom them there, make them understand why they need to do amateur fights, and then
mhm,
go into the pro circuit.
right,
So the difference, what I would say, is in technique wise, training wise, a lot of changes, because we have now a lot of science involved in the way you train, the nutrition aspects of it, what you need to eat, what you don't need to eat, the weight cutting. All this earlier is not there. Earlier it
right,
was just you weigh today you're in 80 kgs, you fight in the 80 kg category. Tomorrow another tournament you're in 90, you fight in the 90.
right,
Nobody was worried about cutting weight and all that. So
mhm,
when I used to fight in the karate circuit, that's what I
mhm.
did. I never cut weight. Whatever
Okay,
weight was, I used to weigh myself and sign up in that category and fight. That's about
okay,
it.
right,
So
right. So,
the concept of weight cutting and all was when I got into MMA.
uh-huh, right. That's
So,
an okay. I think that's when most of us experienced it for the first time. I mean, the boxers had been doing it professionally at least, but
yes.
someone like me, I had no exposure to any of this until I got into MMA, and that's when I realized, what, we have to start cutting weight. Uh,
Yeah.
one of the biggest concerns I had when I got into the cage, right, was because when I did start with the Bangalore Open and you were there as an official as well, I had no idea who the officials were and whether I would be safe in the cage with the officials. And, to be honest, it was extremely safe. The officials took very good care of the athletes and made sure the stoppages were done correctly. And I think part of it is because there were people like you over there who were heading that event as an official, and you were trained by Mark Goddard, who's one of the best in the world. So, how was that experience? Getting the knowledge from him, getting trained by him.
Yeah, it was good. In fact, it's always good that you learn from somebody who has been there, who also started from the grassroots level and gone to where he is right now in the biggest promotion of MMA, that is UFC.
Right.
And he not only does MMA, he also does combat karate, refereeing and judging. He's a black belt in
Hmm.
jiu-jitsu also.
Right.
So he has this thing knowledge, and I always believe that when you meet somebody, you'll take away something from him.
Hmm.
And there were some points that we took away from him, the way he treated us and all. But he is a person who is pretty, he studies an individual, gives the
Hmm.
reports, and says he's pretty straightforward. He doesn't, be politically diplomat and talk nicely to you and say, no, you need. If you're bad, you're bad. If you're
Okay.
good, you're good. That's how it is. So we had that, but more exposure was when we used to go for the Asians, the worlds.
Hmm.
There you got to learn so many things every time. You get to
Okay.
learn some good stuff from your colleagues, from your cage leaders, from the
Hmm.
athlete itself. You get
Okay.
to learn some new stuffs, what they're trying to do. You get on your guard, and you learn, yeah, this is what when I should go in, this is not when I should not go in. And yes, we do commit mistakes
Right.
are there, and we make sure we don't repeat them again. So that's
Okay.
how we learn.
Okay.
So we took away a lot of stuff, but I would like to also give credit to the person Hello. Uh, who taught me the referee aspects in the beginning from for Muay Thai was Hemant.
Okay.
So he used to organize. I don't know if you know about this Pro Am Muay Thai championships. So my first refereeing in the ring
Mm-hmm.
was through Mautai from there from him. So I would give credit to him. After
Right.
that is when I went into MMA, and then I learned from my seniors. And in fact, we as a niche group that we have, Prasad and Sharif sir, we all learn from each other, help each other out, and that's how we grow technically, as well as we grow as a responsible referee in charge, because MMA India's motto is fighter safety first.
Right.
Nothing to be compromised on that. We're very strict at that. If there are no ambulance, no doctors at the venue, the
Mm.
matches will not start. Period.
Got
No matter how much our investment is done,
it. Mm-hmm.
the fighters is the main. They are the
Right.
first priority for us.
Right. No, and that's very important, especially in MMA. And not just from an athlete safety point of view, also, I think a lot of negative press comes in when you talk about MMA because people don't understand the sport. They don't understand how the sport is played and whether it's safe or not. And personally, having fought kickboxing, boxing, MMA is brutal. It requires a lot more skill. But from a safety point of view and from a concussion point of view, I think MMA, I feel a lot more safer out there than in kickboxing and boxing. And what is your opinion on that as a third
Abs-
referee? Yeah.
Absolutely correct. The people who get more concussions are in American football. Though they have so much of protection, they get
Right.
more concussion. And then comes boxing.
Hmm.
We have to say yes because all the blows are going to the face. So concussion
Right.
is you cannot avoid that.
Hmm.
But when it comes to MMA, yes, you have a person who's there to stop the fight at any time when he sees the fighter is not intelligently defending himself, or he's tired and all that. Then we move in and we save the fight. Because what happens here is when you fight, you as a fighter also, you
Hmm.
have your adrenaline pumped up so much you don't want to give up.
Right.
You have that heart to fight on and say no, I can do it. But you as
Hmm.
a referee in the ring, you should read the fight and take that call and say no, you live to fight another day.
Right.
So that call needs to be done, and every referee needs to be very cautious about that.
Right.
Sometimes you might get, that might backfire you, and you'll get a lot of negative publicity saying the referee stopped the fight and that and this and all
Hmm.
that. But again, when they go back and they look at the fight, then they realize, yeah, the referee did a good job in
Right.
stopping the fight.
Right. And I think I should share a story with you. This was a fight. Oh, yes,
Yeah, no
this was a
worries.
fight in. That's okay. This was a fight in the Bangalore Open. I remember you were the referee in my fight, and it was a three-round fight, as an amateur fight it goes. And I know I won the first round. The second round, I remember taking a lot of headshots, and
Mm,
I realized I was disoriented and possibly not concussed, but may have been there. And you came and spoke to me in between the rounds, and you said if I take more headshots, you'll call the fight. Right.
yes.
And I somehow finished the fight and I lost. And when I look back at the video, I realized I was severely disoriented. And if I'm honest, had you stopped the fight, I would have been really, really pissed off. And like you said, at the fight, I would want the fight to go on. But when I go back and look at the video, I know what you were seeing. And I know why you would have called the fight had you called the fight. And I'm sure it must be very difficult for you to call, those situations.
I could give you one more example. We in a Bangalore Open Championship itself,
Mhm.
we had one of our colleagues fighters fighting in the ring, and I stopped the fight. And he was cornering the thing. He said, "What happened? Why did you stop the fight? He's good." Blah blah. Blah. I said, "No, he cannot continue." And
Right.
finally, the doctors came and took him out, and they had to put him in the ambulance, and he was unable to breathe.
Oh,
So
wow.
I
Okay.
my bout was over, and I went to the ambulance to check on him and see. And I said, "Now you know why I stopped the fight."
Right.
Then he realizes, Mr. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because at that point of time, the cornerman looks at the fight in a different way. We
Hmm.
look at the fight in a different way. The
Right.
audience looks at the fight at a different way. There are
Hmm.
different perspectives on the fight. But at the end of the day, you are the person who will be responsible for the fighter's safety.
Absolutely.
So you
Right.
need that this type of understanding and reading the fight you will develop while you have more experience, and when you do a lot of refereeing on different levels.
Right. So, we spoke a lot about MMA. I just want to ask you a little bit more about, the boxing and the kickboxing and the Muay Thai bouts that you
Hmm.
officiated. Uh, which ones do you enjoy more as a referee?
I
Because
would
you have the
like.
front row seats. Yeah.
I love all the sports. All are good. Everything is has its own, takeaways from it. And see, for example, boxing. The minimum rounds in a boxing thing is 4 rounds. So you
Mhm.
spend a lot of time in the ring, 4, 6, 8, 12,
Right.
10 rounds, depending on what match it is. So
Mhm.
that way of looking at a bout is totally different. You need to have more stamina as a referee, especially when you're doing title bouts. This is what they do in boxing. It's not medicals done only for the fighters, it's done even for the referee.
Oh, okay.
So you one second. Because they want the referee also to be healthy. They check your BP, they check your eyesight, and unless you're fit, the doctor gives you a clearance certificate, you will be able to referee a bout for
Okay.
all title bouts in boxing. That is a thumb rule for what they have. So if you are selected to do a title bout, you better will show be healthy.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah, this is something
I've
people don't
experienced
really
that.
understand. Right. A lot
Yeah.
of people don't know this. And that's, yeah, that's good information. But this is only in boxing, not in any other sport.
And no, yeah, I haven't experienced this referee going for medicals. It's actually only for boxing, which
Right.
I came a part of it.
Right. I mean, 12
So
rounds to
come,
have the concentration in, if it's a title fight,
yes,
a world title, it's tough, I'm sure. But yeah, I guess the referee has to be on top of his game.
absolutely. And coming to kickboxing and Muay Thai, that's a different scenario again. There, where in which it's almost close to MMA. Only thing you don't have groundwork over there. You
Right.
enjoy the fight there when you're so close to the fighters. You know what power they're using.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you know what distance you need to maintain. Sometimes
Right.
if you're too close, you might get kicked in the face or punched in the face.
Has that
So
ever
that's
happened to
also.
you?
No, that hasn't happened to me. But
Okay.
sometimes my angles were not correct. That they would almost fall on me. I had to
Oh,
move at a very fast pace. So
mhm.
that's something we learned as time goes by. What angle you need to be. If there are two, what do you call a southpaw and an orthodox fighting, you don't need to be on the blind side. You have to be in the side where you can see the fight.
Right.
All these small points, some referees neglect to look
Mm.
at. So if you're there, you can cleanly see whether it was an intentional or an accidental groin kick
Right.
or eye poke or whatever it is. So
Mhm.
your angling also is very important over there, irrespective if it's boxing, if it's
Mhm.
Muay Thai, if it's kickboxing. The easiest one is BJJ.
Okay.
You just
Right.
stand and watch and just give points.
Right.
That's
I'm
the
sure. Yeah.
easiest job.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that it is. But when you get into something like a choke, whether it's in BJJ or in MMA, uh, at what point would you call the fight? I mean, if the person is not tapping out, how do you know that the person is out? Because sometimes it's very difficult to tell.
Very good question. In fact, when we have licensing done,
Hmm.
it's always advisable that you have been a BJJ player,
Okay.
because as you correctly said, if you are not placed in an RNC or a triangle
Hmm.
or a darts or an anaconda choke, how the hell are you going to know what's happening over there?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So you need to experience that. For example, like John McCarthy, Big John McCarthy has a licensing program that he does. He
Hmm.
has a set of 56 techniques that you need to know to qualify for his training program.
Okay.
So it's very important for them to know the different aspects of cakes and jokes and what jokes. Sometimes what happens is, initially, my initially days of when I used to club was refereeing, they used to choke people, and I was wondering what the hell choke is this. Then I said, no, I need to learn
Right.
BJJ, and I started training with some people, and got the knowledge of how it feels and what it is. But coming back to your question, what do you do? See, as I told you, the fighter, he doesn't want to give up. He has that heart. He said, "No, I will fight till the end."
Hmm.
So usually, what we look at is when a choke is going on, is ice.
Okay.
If it's diluting, then when you choke, they make a noise, and you find froth coming out. Or what we will ask them, give me a thumbs up.
Right.
If you're good, give me a thumbs up. If I don't get any response from it, then what I do, I lift the hand and I
Hmm.
leave it. So if it drops,
Hmm.
he's gone. I'll stop the fight over there.
Okay.
Usually, this is if you say in 100 bouts or one or two will go like that way, they'll go to sleep. Others
Hmm.
tap. They're sensible fighters. They know they can fight another day. But there are some people who say, "No, I will not give up."
Okay.
Or there are some good grapplers out there or wrestlers. When they get you in the choke, when they start to squeeze on you, you'll go to sleep.
Okay.
So they're so good. So that
Right.
that you need to, as a referee, need to pay good attention when it's going to the ground, especially for these chokes and even leg locks.
Hmm.
That is also a thing, a big thing that you need to look out, because
Okay.
injuries can happen a lot over here.
Right. Right. And coming back to the choke, I've seen two fights with two very different endings because of how the referee reacted, and both are the extremes that can happen. And one was an SFL. I will not take the name of the referee. We all know him, but he
I
did
I,
not
I know what
call
you're
the
talking
choke,
about. Yeah,
and the corner had
yeah,
to jump in, and the fight
yeah,
had to be stopped because that was dangerous for the fighter. And the other one, I
yeah.
believe, was in the last UFC, where the referee lifted the fighter's arm, and the fighter
Hmm.
pulled his arm back. But when he did, looked like he was tapping, and the fight was
Yeah,
called by the referee. Yeah.
yeah. I think this UFC one was, I think, last week or something, if I'm not
Yes.
wrong, which
Yes.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are
See,
these
as
are
I
two extremes. But how
yes.
difficult is it for the referee? I mean, would one of them have been easier for you to call if you were the referee in there, or
See, as I told earlier, this we are all humans at the end of the day.
right?
Mistakes would happen. See, the first one that you spoke about in SFL,
Hmm.
yeah, the referee should have paid a little more attention to what's happening. That's why I told the angling. You cannot just stand and look at the choke that's happening. You go to the ground. You look at the person, what's happening, because some people go, they get tensed up. Their hands and all become stiff.
Right.
The was getting choked out. So you need to look at all these signs and call the bout. But
Hmm.
when coming to the UFC part of it, that was anybody looking at it, they look at a tap. So usually,
Right.
what when we are trained, also when we say a tap is we wait for at least two, one, two,
Yes.
like this. If we just go like this, sometimes they're trying to hit.
Yeah.
The punch like that, right? They're in that mood of trying to hit. You need to gauge that and see that. A referee's job is, what, you like it or not. Sometimes people will praise you to the core. Very rarely you get that. And every time they say, no, the referee goofed up. He spoiled my career, my this, my that. End
Hmm.
of the day, yes, there are some bouts which are called wrongly. We
Hmm.
agree to it. And as I said, we are just humans. We also sometimes tend to make mistakes. But we don't repeat them. We learn
Right.
from them and move ahead. Because some there if there are some referees, for example, if it's a title fight.
Hmm.
Now what we do is, if there's a ground and pound going, we'll tell them defend yourself, defend yourself. If they're not doing, since the title found, the ref will say, okay, I'll give him a chance to see what he's doing. He'll give him a few seconds extra,
Hmm.
see if he comes back. There are so many instances in fights where the referee gave those few seconds ahead and the fight was turned. The guy
Right.
was getting backed up, reversed, and he won the bout.
Hmm.
So being a referee is a tough job. At the same time, it's very exciting too, because
Right.
you are there up front, right in front of everybody, and you're looking at the fight, you're reading the fight, you're studying the fight,
Hmm.
and you keep taking a call. And
Got it.
especially if it's on big promotions, you have the crowd screaming, shouting. That's where you need to have your focus.
Hmm.
So
Right.
what when you go in, this is what we've been taught by our seniors and international referees and colleagues, who tell us, when you go into the ring, you are the boss.
Hmm. Right.
You don't listen to what the corner is shouting, what the audience is shouting. You take the call.
Right.
If you say it is a call that a bout needs to be stopped, yes, it needs to be stopped.
Hmm.
You are the only decision maker over there, nobody else, irrespective of what they think. You
Right.
have a justification for it, that this is what I thought and this is what I read the fight. That's why I called the fight this way. Same
Hmm.
thing goes for judges also. When you score about, there are sometimes people say, no, it should have gone the other way, no, it should have gone this way. But
Hmm.
that's why they put three judges at different angles.
Right.
So if I can't see something, the other judge is picking up something else, and they'll be
Hmm.
able to score the bout. So focus is utmost important for a referee and a judge.
Right. Right. So, since you're the third man and you see everything up close, I just want to. This is not technical at all, but from your own personal choice, uh, Can you tell me three fights which you seen? One which was the best fight you ever seen, second the worst
Mhm.
fight, and the third the strangest.
I can't recall because I'm a person who doesn't pick anything as a good fight and a bad fight. I could okay just come up to my mind is Anderson Silva versus GSP. I don't know if you remember this fight where it was a crazy fight. That was both were
No,
bashed up,
no,
especially GSP was
yeah, no, I meant fights where you were in the ring with the fighters,
in
where
the
you were the
ring.
referee. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you one example of my first world championship in 2017
Uh huh.
in Bahrain.
Right.
So I applied for a judge. Actually, I was very you know apprehensive on going into the ring. I was
Okay.
not confident enough.
Mhm.
So I was selected as a judge, and I went over there, and we were given a cage to work at with our cage leader. So the cage leader came to me and said, "We have very few referees. Would you referee?" And I said, "I don't know what made me say yes." I said yes, and I said, "Okay, fine. Some other referee will go in. I'll see what he's doing." And he put me into the first bout. I was
Okay.
like, what the hell? I was so nervous, so nervous. And the good part of it, we had five cages,
Hmm.
and all five cages, all Indian referees starting the
Oh
championship.
wow.
Everybody were there in the ring. That was really good. This
Uh-huh.
being my first MMA World Championship bout, it was a ladies bout category. The
Hmm.
fight is going on, and she takes this girl in a submission,
Okay.
and she taps. As she taps, the bell rings. So
Oh
I was confused. Like, what do I call this? Do I say the bell rang? But I waved my hand because we have to wave when we call the fight off.
yeah.
So I waved my hand, and the coach came running in. Why you stop the bout and all that? And he asked what happened. And for my good luck, the fighter was honest enough, said no, I tapped,
Oh wow.
and that
Okay.
was sorted over there. So
Okay.
that was one incident, and another one was when you asked me a question, when do you stop a fight when a person is choked?
Yeah.
So this was my first experience where this guy was getting choked. I could see his eyes going. Just I give him a little more time to come back,
Hmm.
but that was a little late, and I stopped the
Okay.
fight. But
Hmm.
but it's a little late according to what my seniors told me. You should have stopped it a little more earlier because he
Okay.
was totally out. He
Right.
came back in 10 seconds. He came back to his senses, and then so they said there I learned something new, that this is what I need to look at. Or you need to lift the hand. I didn't know about you can touch the fighter and leave a
Listen.
hand and
Right.
see if he's conscious or not. Ask those statements. Give me a thumbs up. All
Hmm.
those things needs to be asked. So I learned something new. That's why every event that I go for, every championship, every club war, I take away something new and go ahead,
Right.
irrespective if I'm working in the boxing ring, if I'm working for a kickboxing or Muay Thai or BJJ. It's a
Hmm.
learning curve that improves my knowledge every time.
Right. So, uh, apart from all the work you've done as a official and as a both as a referee judge as well as a vice president in MMA, and you are a
Mhm.
senior VP in WBC Muay Thai as well. But outside of
Yeah.
this, I think a lot of people don't know this. You also done a little bit of show business. You were
Yes. Yeah, that we did a Tamil movie as a referee because they had some MMA fights going on into it,
which
and
movie was this?
this was a Tamil picture called as Patas, where Dhanush
Okay,
was a hero. But that was a
nice.
crazy experience because they go on cut and think we go in the morning, we come back next day early morning for one small fight. It was
Okay,
crazy. So that was a very crazy experience, and then you come on the screen for hardly a few seconds in the thing
right.
after you work so hard over there. But the real exposure that I got was when I worked for a program called India's Ultimate Warrior for Discovery Channel,
Uh huh.
where in which I played the role of a referee for different combat sports.
Okay.
Let it be from the Punjab traditional post called Katak, and if I'm not getting it correct, the name.
Hmm.
So that is the thing. Then it being MMA, then it being boxing, then it be tug of war, then it be some Shaolin stuff or something like that way. I was a
Hmm.
part of that. This was a shoot for 20 days,
Okay.
We had it in the midst of some forest where we had actors like Akshay Kumar and Vidyut Jamwal, who was the main host of the program.
Hmm.
And there also, I learned a lot from mentors like the guy who made the Wild Human and Man, or Hawk, we call him. He's
Okay.
American thing. From him, Shifu Kanishkar, a very renowned, the only Indian monk trained from the Shaolin. He was
Okay.
there. Then we had from one championship, Killer Bee.
Hmm.
She was one of the mentors. So it was a good experience learning from these people in different aspects. They were snipers in their professional in the Australian Army, and
Oh,
another
wow.
guy was like a commando from the US, Hawk.
Uh-huh.
So I took away a lot from them, and that was a real great experience. And the show did pretty well also, and
Nice.
I think they might come up with season two also. I'm not sure about that,
Oh,
but
best of luck for that. I hope they call you back
yeah,
for that. And yeah, for
yeah, I
those who
hope
haven't
so.
checked it out, yeah, for those who
Yeah,
haven't
please
checked it out,
go.
please check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Wo-
something different. It's something unique because here in this concept, it was no weight class. There's no men, no women. Women
uh,
had to fight with the men itself. For
wow.
example, they had different thing like how you'll control a fight.
Hmm.
They had only on control. Then they
Okay.
had something as team building where they had this called as murder ball. This is a very famous method of training for the British SAS forces, the
Okay.
commando forces, where
Hmm.
you make two teams. You throw a tire in the air, and the teams come and grab the tire and try to take it to their post. So
Okay.
that's how you work as a team, and team building activities and endurance activities. Then your patience activities. It was a mixture of everything.
Right.
So that was something different for the Indian audience, also something
Mhm.
new, and I hope they come back again because MMA and combat sports are growing really big in India.
Right. So yeah, I really hope so too. And yeah, for those who haven't checked it out, check it out. I believe it's on Discovery.
Yes,
Uh,
Discovery Plus. Yeah,
right. And people who are Dhanush fans, you can go back and watch the movie again, and maybe let us know at which point Mr. Kevin Alfred David comes on screen. I'm sure you can't miss him once he's on screen.
and if you don't want to watch the movie, go right to the end of the movie. It's the last fight which happens.
Okay, spoiler alert.
In fact, it was yeah, it was. In fact, Prasad also was a part of it.
Okay,
Who was our general secretary of MM India. So
right.
we both were doing the roles of referees over there, and we had some other people also
Hmm.
who did the part of the refereeing too.
Right, right, great. Okay, that is amazing. So you used to compete as an athlete earlier, right? Do you
Yes.
still compete as an athlete now, or are you planning to at any point of time?
I would be doing BJJ itself. I was planning to join the competition in BJJ. It's good to be a part of it. But earlier, I think in 2018, 2019, I used to take part in these underground fight nights. It used to happen in Bangalore,
All right,
where
remember that.
it was run by
Ritin
Ashwin Mohan. No, Ashwin
Ashwin.
Mohan.
Okay.
Yeah. So we used to go there, and we get 5 minutes. You fight with whoever you have to fight with,
Uh,
and there is no
uh,
gloves, bare knuckle.
oh, wow.
Sometimes
Okay.
they give gloves, and that's when I knew because I was a stand-up fighter. I didn't know anything on the ground, so
Uh-huh.
that's when I knew that when I went to the ground and he took me to the ground, I was like, "What do I do?" I had no clue.
Mm,
So I just knew a guillotine, standing guillotine. Other than
right.
that, I didn't know nothing. So that's what gave me the curiosity. No, I need to enhance my knowledge, and I started going for BJJ classes, and then I learned a lot from
Right.
BJJ, and it really makes sense even if you have a good wrestling background too, which helps.
Hmm. So this was bare nickel, right? Did you ever get cut on your face or your head,
No,
anything like that? Nothing. Oh, you're
no.
very lucky, I believe. Yeah. Or
The
you're very
only
good, or both. Yeah.
no, the only injuries that I ever got was not related to combat sport. That's the
Oh,
best part of it. It was either in cricket where I broke my teeth, the leather ball hit my face,
oh
or
no. Okay. Uh-huh.
my recent thing was by playing long tennis. I injured my wrist. I said so many years in combat sports and no injuries at all, and playing other sports I got injured.
Wow. Yeah. So, and this is something I tell my wife as well because she gets concerned about me getting injured in the ring. And I've had a couple of broken noses, and once I had to get a stitch. But that is about it. There hasn't been any major injury outside of that. But I've torn my ligament just running around as a kid, and
Exactly.
it's it's very bizarre and very counterintuitive, but people don't realize it. But combat sports typically is a lot safer than just everyday life. Yeah.
Exactly. And now, if you look at what's happening now, since we're promoting MMA everywhere, we have something called as youth MMA,
Right.
where in which now people are getting educated. Like as earlier you said, if you talk about MMA, the first thing is saying that that's a bloody event. There's full
Mhm.
of blood. There's so much injury. You take it even to the sports minister and do this. They're fighting with each other. No, no, it's not going to happen. Nobody's going to. Parents also, we
Right.
tell them, but the rules and regulations that have come forth now for the youth MMA aspirants, starting from the tender age of 12,
Hmm.
from 12 onwards to 17 years, it's immense. The
Right.
safety protocols are to the T. So there is no chance of any injuries or such. If the referee is good in the ring, nothing is
Mhm.
going to happen, and it's so safe. Like, for example, you don't have face punches, no face kicks, no knees to the body of any sort for all of them.
Right.
And each category has a separate set of rules that they need to follow. For
Hmm.
example, the C category, which is the 12 to 13 years, is as soon as they go into the form of an armbar, we
Hmm.
stop the fight. We don't let it be armbar to get extended. So we
Right.
know as a referee, okay, he's taking going in for the armbar position. He's going to get the armbar. We stop the fight. So
Hmm.
again, in the B, we allow them to do extend the extent, but we don't allow them to extend it very much. So we
Right.
stop the fight like that way. So we
Right.
have different rule sets, and there are no calf slices and bicep slices,
Right.
no leg locks, nothing like that way. So it's very, very, very easy and
Hmm.
practically very, very safe for all the athletes from the tender age of 12 to 17. And once they graduate into the junior category, then it's the full-fledged amateur rules which come into place.
Right. So this is one thing I wanted to ask you. A lot of these amateur youth rules which have come up, and this is both for MMA and WBC Muay Thai has some as well. And the
Mhm.
intention was to make it safer for kids. That was one, but also to try and get it into the Olympics, because the Olympics, I
Exactly.
believe, need some safety rules in place. But
Yeah.
on the flip side, we have these traditional combat sports already in the Olympics, and some of them can be very controversial. For example, in the last Olympics, I remember it was the finals of karate. I forget which weight category. I think it was Brazil versus Iran.
Hmm.
And I believe in karate in the Olympics, you're not supposed to have a full contact.
I
And
know you're talking about the face kick, right?
yeah,
That's the one.
yes, the person who got knocked out won the gold
Yeah,
medal.
one. Yes, exactly. In fact, I was when I saw that fight. What you're talking about? It was a perfect Mawashigiri. That's a snap kick to the face, and he pulled back his leg also. I don't
Right,
know why the referee disqualified him for that guy getting knocked out. It was a perfect pullback kick. It was not extended like how we do in Muay Thai. We take the leg fully down. It was a tap and back,
right.
and I don't know what happened. I don't know if that was karate or taekwondo. I'm a little
I
confused with
believe it
that.
was karate. I believe it was karate, but
Okay.
maybe I'm mistaken. Yeah, but one of those traditional sports.
Exactly.
Yeah, but do you see such situations coming up in MMA or Muay Thai if they get into the Olympics at any point of time, or not at all, based on the
Uh,
rules you've seen currently?
getting knocked out. If you're looking at the youth aspects, if the youth is going into the Olympics, no, we will never come across that. If we ever come across that getting knocked out and all that, I don't think so. It'll happen because there
Okay,
are no face kicks and no face punches at all. So the
okay,
question of getting knocked out is not there. If it's an amateur circuit, yes, it might be there a knockout, but if he's knocked out, the knocked out fighter will not win. The other guy only will win because the rules are like that.
right.
Even coming to Muay Thai, the youth also they have developed good rules and regulations now for the
Mhm.
safety of the fighter because now all combat sports, irrespective of what it is, fighter safety is number one.
Right.
And you also being a referee, I would like to add, it's always good if you have some knowledge about different lacerations that happen. So you could also call the fight when it's going on, and you can go to the corner and check. Well, that's what I do in every match. If I find one of the fighters, is tailgating or he's getting dazed and all that, I
Mhm.
go there. I wait for the corners to finish the thing. When you have the last 10 seconds, I talk to the
Mhm.
fighter and see
Right.
how he reacts. Because
Mhm.
in boxing, I did that once and I called off the fight.
Okay.
I didn't want to take the risk of it, for the
Right.
fighter's safety. Recently, it happened, and I called the fight and I told the cornerman, no, I will not let him fight. He's not protecting himself, neither he cannot walk also.
Right.
So so
So
having that little bit of that knowledge is also good.
right. So when it comes to lacerations, right? Different sports have different lacerations which come up because in Muay Thai, when you have elbows involved, people can get cut open fairly easily. Same in
Yes, yes,
professional MMA. Not so much in
yes.
boxing. In boxing as well, they get opened up, but not the same way. Do you treat them differently when you look at these cuts? And bare knuckle is the most. I'm sure bare knuckle, people get cut open all the time.
Yes. See, it depends. If it's a professional fight, you look at it differently. If it's an amateur, you look at it differently.
Right.
So it depends on what event it is and how it is. See,
Mhm.
as in an amateur fight, if he gets punched, since there are no elbows in amateur, if you get a glove punch and it cuts above the eyelash, it's cut and
Mhm.
it's bleeding, and the blood is going into his eyes, so that is he's unable to see the fight. So we stopped and get the doctor in, and if you have that knowledge of what lacerations are and what the cut and where it's cut, you need to stop the fight. You can have a discussion with the doctor,
Mhm.
and the doctor will also educate you on the same, and you can call the fight. But if it's professional also, even if it's a deep cut and as you have your corner cutman over there,
Mhm.
as long as the blood is not going to the fighter's eyes and he's able to fight, he can see the fight, then we don't stop and we don't call the doctor, because once you have your 1 minute rest, definitely the cutman comes in and he treats the cut. He puts in
Mhm.
Vaseline, which has those I don't know the correct word, the liquid that they mix in it so it'll clot the bleeding,
Right.
which is legal, that we can use
Mhm.
in boxing as well as in MMA or in Muay Thai, wherever it is. You can mix that in Vaseline and put it so it clots the blood a little bit, so the bleeding is not there.
Right.
So that's this.
Okay. And this is something I want to ask you on a. It's personal as well as for the audience, because
Mhm.
I got offered a bare knuckle fight, which I did not take because the weight class was not. I think it was a big mismatch for me to take up it and BKFC. But
Mhm.
uh, the opinion that BKFC has, and I kind of share that opinion is when you fight bare knuckle boxing, you get cut up a lot because it's bare knuckles. But the gloves, which typically you wear in boxing, protect your fist more than the opponent's face.
Yes.
And in bare knuckle, because you're afraid of breaking your own wrist, you're probably not hitting as hard. Do you share that opinion because you fought bare knuckle yourself? Yeah.
S- that again where you see it's something like when in earlier the amateur boxing thing had head guards, right?
Right.
When a study was done, a research was done, they found that people wearing head guards were getting more concussions than person without head guard. So
Right.
what happens? It's a psychology effect that you have an head guard, I have an head guard. So you'll think if I hit him hard, also nothing will happen to him. So
Right.
you tend to hit harder. And
Mhm.
correctly, as you said, when you have your hands protected and thing, you tend to use more force
Right.
compared to when you are bare knuckle fighting. But again, however, if your knuckles are conditioned very well,
Mhm.
then yes, you use your full force, and it is pretty bad.
Right.
Irrespective, you wear gloves and you go bare knuckle, also you're going to cut your face, but the
Right.
lacerations
Exactly.
will be more effective bare knuckle wise. For
Mhm.
example, you take an elbow strike. If
Right.
there's no guard, but a slight, a turn like this or a upper thing, you cut easy. It's cut easily in elbow compared to a
Yes.
punch with the
Right.
gloves on.
Mhm.
So, and
Right.
I have experienced the bare knuckle punches a lot. To who actually when I was doing Kyokushin karate.
Oh, okay.
Kyokushin karate is a full contact karate thing.
Mhm.
Only thing is they don't punch to the face. They knee
Right.
to the face, they
The
kick to the
body.
face and the body,
Yeah.
and it's bare knuckle, and that is brutal.
You're
After
right.
every fight that you come back, even from class, you'll have blue and red patches all over your body.
Mhm.
So that's
Okay.
how you get conditioned also.
That's just old school way of conditioning your body.
Yeah.
Nice. Great. So, okay, I think we've gone over 43 minutes. I didn't realize the time flew away so quickly. Okay, just if you have to give some advice to the people out there and they want to enter the game either as a fighter or after the fighter they want to be officials, do you have any words of advice to the people out there listening?
Yes, see, you need to do your research, and you need to know which are the professional bodies that are running the sport. For example, since I'm part of three bodies, that is WBC Mata India and MMA India and Indian Boxing Council. So if you're coming to MMA, my only advice will be, first do your amateur fights. At least have at least 20 fights under your belt before you go to a professional fight, because this will not only increase your experience, it will give you the cage knowledge, how you need to fight, what is the rest time. Don't go directly into a professional fight. That's my advice. Even in boxing is the same. Do a little bit of amateur and then get into professional boxing, because the entire scenario is different in professional and the thing. Because once you go professional, you can't come back to amateur.
Mhm.
It doesn't work like that way. And if you want to go and become a referee or a judge like I'm doing currently, go to the genuine body. For MMA, come to MMA India. We have state level courses, we have national level courses, we have Asian level courses. We just now finished, in fact, Sheriff Sir has conducted the Asian level referee judge courses, where 8 Asian countries participated in Bahrain. He just
Wow.
finished that and he came, and it was a great success. We had around 40 inspiring referees and judges, and they loved the interaction and the course material which was being provided to them. They had a good insight on knowledge about what they need to do and what they need to look at. Because see, nowadays everybody is becoming pretty intelligent. Huh? It is not like the good old days that people didn't know the rules. Everybody knows the rules and regulations. So even when a coach or a cornerman comes to you, you need to talk to them in such a way that they understand the rules and regulations. If they don't know what they're talking about, then it's not good. So you get trained by the professional body. For MMA is like MMA India, and for boxing is IBC Boxing, and Mauta is Mauta India. You can come. We have courses there that we can teach, and I'm a part of all these three. So you'll see me everywhere,
Great.
irrespective of whether it be boxing, kickboxing, BJJ,
Mhm.
anything.
Great.
So do your
So awesome.
research. I'm not saying come to us alone, but if you
Mhm.
come to us, you'll be the best. It's as simple as that.
Right. So if you want to be the best, come, wherever Mr. Kevin Alfred David is, whether it's MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, or boxing, just stick to where he's going. And I can tell you from experience, he knows where the right people are. And if you go where he is, one, you'll be safe. Two, your career will be secure. That is my guarantee to anybody listening. So,
Thank you.
anyways, thank you so much for being on the show. And again, I could not ask for a better guest to start this new series, The Inside Scoop, than you. And
It's my
yeah, this
pleasure.
was a great time. And thanks everybody. And for those who joined in listening, I see Sagni Gupta who had joined in earlier. Uh, and quite a few people have joined in as well. And we will have another show next week.
Sagnik Gupta is a good fighter also.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great. So,
Yeah.
Zagni Gupta, Mr. Kevin Alfred David knows you. He thinks you're a good fighter. So, hats off to that. Keep up the good work. So, and for the others listening, we will be back with Beyond the Gloves next week. So, the way it goes, we're going to have 2 episodes of Beyond the Gloves and one of Inside Scoop so every 3 weeks there will be one Inside Scoop. Uh, so thank you everybody for joining, and I'll catch you all next time.
Thank you,
Okay, thanks
Vaibhav. Bye,
everybody.
everybody. Cheers. Bye.